I always worked late, but that night it hit different. Maybe it was because it was Halloween, or maybe because the streets were emptier than usual, like everyone had retreated indoors to wait out the cold and the ghosts. It was just after midnight when I clocked out. The gas station where I worked sat on the edge of town, the kind of place where the street lights flicker and the soda fridge hums louder than the customers talk. My feet hurt, my hoodie smelled like diesel and burnt coffee, and all I wanted was my bed. The shortcut home cut through a stretch of quiet suburban streets, where every yard was trying to outdo the next with fake cobwebs and orange lights. At first, I thought it was funny how still everything was. The motion sensor lights didn't flicker. The plastic ghosts hung perfectly still in the cold air. Even the fake fog had started to fade. I remember kicking a stray candy wrapper and watching it tumble down the road, just me and the sound of my sneakers on the pavement. That's when I noticed the first one. A scarecrow, tall, lanky, head made from an old burlap sack, standing in a front yard 2 houses down. I'd passed it every night that week, only this time it wasn't in the same spot. It was facing the street instead of the house. I stopped, looked again. Maybe the wind shifted it, or maybe the homeowner moved it earlier and I just hadn't noticed. Logical, right? Then, out of nowhere, a motion light blinked on across the street. A group of skeleton decorations on the lawn were now turned toward me, their bony hands outstretched, heads cocked. I laughed a little under my breath, one of those nervous, stupid laughs that comes when your stomach tightens. I kept walking. Another house, a witch hanging from a porch beam, her broom angled down like she was mid-flight, except the broom wasn't in the same position. It was pointing at me now. And that's when I realized the night had gone too quiet. No rustle of leaves, no hum of distant traffic, no late-night dogs barking, just my own breath and the soft scrape of my shoes against the asphalt. I tried to convince myself I was overtired. Maybe I'd just watched too many horror movies lately. But then I heard it. A low creak, like wood bending under weight. I turned. The scarecrow was closer. I swear to God, it was standing in the middle of the street, straw hands hanging limp at its sides, head tilted ever so slightly, as if listening. That's when I started to walk faster. Somewhere behind me, another motion light flicked on, then another. One by one, the neighborhood started lighting up, yards coming alive under the pale orange glow. Figures toward the sound of my steps. A clown on a swing started to move, slow and deliberate, the chain squeaking into the silence. I remember whispering to myself, "It's just the wind, man, just the damn wind." But my voice cracked halfway through, because the wind wasn't blowing. And something about those decorations, those fake smiles, empty eyes, still plastic faces, felt like they were waiting for me to do something. Or maybe, just maybe, for the first time that night, they already had. I crossed the street fast, pretending not to look at the scarecrow behind me. My hands were jammed deep in my hoodie pocket, gripping my phone like a talisman. I thought about calling someone, anyone, but what would I even say? Hey, the Halloween decorations are following me? Yeah, that'd go well. The deeper I went into the neighborhood, the worse it got. The decorations weren't random anymore. They were lined up along the sidewalk, like they'd all been placed deliberately to face the street. There was something unnatural about the symmetry. A fog machine hissed from someone's yard, spewing out a thin mist that clung to the ground. I could see shapes moving inside it, figures that hadn't been there a second ago. I stopped again, trying to catch my breath. Every motion light on the block was glowing now, painting the street in uneven pools of white and orange. And between those patches of light, in the dark gaps, I could see silhouettes, dozens of them, some tall and stiff, others hunched, dragging props or dangling from porch beams. Then one of them waved. I froze. It was a clown, plastic face cracked down the middle, one glassy eye missing. It stood at the edge of a driveway, arms slowly swaying side to side like it was mocking me. That's when I ran. I didn't even think, just sprinted past the houses, the plastic graves, the motion-activated witches as they screamed as I passed. I kept my eyes forward, but I could feel them turning to watch me. I could hear their cheap joints clicking as they shifted position. Halfway down the block, I saw a figure standing still in the middle of the road. At first, I thought it was another scarecrow, but then it tilted its head. I caught a glimpse of something metallic glinting under the streetlight. Not a prop. I slowed down just enough to whisper, "Hello?" No answer. Just a slow, uneven step forward. That's when I heard the others move, the creak of plastic bones, the drag of fake fabric on asphalt. All of them coming closer. My heart was slamming in my chest. I bolted across a yard, knocking over a foam tombstone, and cut through an alley behind the houses. I could still hear the faint rhythm of footsteps behind me, not running, just walking, steady and patient. I stopped at the end of the alley, panting, my breath clouding the cold air. That's when I noticed the porch lights on the next street flickering one by one like a signal. Every single yard decoration on that block was facing my direction. And right there, on a nearby lawn, I saw something that turned my stomach cold. A scarecrow wearing the same blue hoodie as me. The same coffee stain on the front, the same torn sleeve, except it wasn't there before, and it was smiling.
For a few seconds, I just stood there, staring at that thing wearing my hoodie. The same color, same tear by the wrist, same faint grease mark on the shoulder from work. Only one detail was different. Its head was made of burlap, stitched roughly where a mouth should be. But the mouth wasn't still. It was moving. The scarecrow's jaw flexed slightly with each breath of wind, like it was whispering something under its non-existent tongue. I don't even remember deciding to move, but suddenly I was stumbling backward into the street, my phone trembling in my hand. I tried to turn on the flashlight, but my fingers felt frozen, like my body didn't belong to me anymore. Behind me, somewhere down the alley, I heard another sound, the rhythmic thump, scrape, thump, scrape, like something heavy dragging one leg. I didn't want to turn around. "Stop it!" I said out loud, like saying it might make it stop. "You're not real. You're just—" The scarecrow tilted its head, same as before. Then its hand twitched. The arm rose, jerky and uneven, until that stitched burlap finger pointed directly at me. That broke me. I ran. I cut through the next backyard, nearly tripping over a plastic skeleton half buried in the grass. The air smelled like rotting pumpkins and burnt sugar, the leftovers of every trick-or-treater who'd passed hours before. The whole neighborhood looked normal from a distance, like a Halloween postcard, but every figure I passed was turned toward me. Every single one. One of them, a big animatronic werewolf, started moving. The gears inside whirred to life, its eyes lighting up red. It was supposed to growl when people walked by. Instead, it laughed. Low, mechanical, human. That's when I realized something I hadn't before.
None of the houses had lights on inside. Every window was black, every door closed. No cars, no movement, no sound from TVs. It was like the whole neighborhood was empty, except for me and them. I stopped in front of a cul-de-sac and spun around, breathing hard. The street behind me was lined with figures now. Scarecrows, clowns, skeletons, witches, all perfectly still under the orange glow. Then, from somewhere far off, I heard my phone buzz. The screen lit up with a message from an unknown number. "You left the light on." And when I looked back toward my house in the distance, every motion light on my block turned on at once.
For a moment, I couldn't move. My brain just jammed. That text still glowed on my screen. "You left the light on." Thing is, I didn't have any lights on at home. I always killed them before work. Habit, electric bill and all that. So how... Another buzz. "We've been waiting." That was it. My body decided it was done standing still. I started running again, faster this time, down the middle of the street. The asphalt shimmered faintly under the motion lights, and my shadow stretched long and broken across the cracked pavement. Halfway down, I passed a row of plastic zombies, cheap, hollow things from the dollar store. But one of them turned its head as I went by. I heard the faint crick, crick of plastic grinding on plastic. Its empty eyes followed me. I didn't stop. Couldn't. As I ran, I noticed the decorations weren't just moving, they were shifting positions, like a crowd rearranging itself between blinks. The clown I'd seen before, the one that waved, was now up the block, just standing in a driveway, watching. The houses looked dead, curtains drawn tight, no flicker of light from inside, no hum of heaters or TVs, just darkness. When I finally turned the last corner toward my street, I saw my house lit up like a stage. Every porch light on, every motion light glowing, even the one above the garage that hadn't worked in months. The front door was open, wide, and something was standing in the doorway. It looked human, tall, maybe my height, shoulders slumped like it was exhausted. But the posture was all wrong, too stiff, like it hadn't learned how to stand properly yet. I took a step back. My breath came in short bursts. The fake me tilted its head, just like the scarecrow had earlier. Then it smiled. The exact same smile I saw in the reflection of shop windows when I passed by every morning, the one I always thought looked tired and a little fake. Only now it stretched wider, too wide. From behind me, the air started to fill with soft creaks and dragging sounds, the rest of the decorations closing in. The copy of me raised its hand, palm facing up, and in my voice, it said, "Welcome home." I don't know how I managed to move. My legs were jelly, my throat dry, and my chest felt like someone was pressing down on it with both hands. But something in me, panic, instinct, whatever, forced me backward. The fake me stayed in the doorway, smiling that hollow, stretched grin. Its head tilted again, as if listening to something I couldn't hear. Then it stepped forward, one careful foot onto the porch, the wood creaking like it hadn't been walked on in years. Behind me, the street filled with sound, soft, deliberate movement, the scrape of plastic feet, the crinkle of synthetic fabric, the whisper of straw brushing pavement. They were coming. Every decoration I'd passed now stood somewhere along the street, crowding closer with each step. Their heads twitched toward me like marionettes waiting for a cue. The air smelled like dust,
cold fog, and faint burnt rubber. The copy, let's call it the thing, was halfway down the porch steps now. Under the porch light, its skin didn't look human anymore. The color was wrong, too pale, too matte, like someone had molded me out of wax and forgotten to finish the face. "Stop," I croaked. I wasn't even sure who I was talking to. "Don't come any closer." It stopped. Then, like a puppet reacting to a signal, the rest of them stopped too. Dead silent. I could hear my own pulse pounding in my ears. Then it spoke again. Same voice as mine, but slower, broken, like an echo trying to remember the shape of words. "Why are you running?" I shook my head. "What are you?" Its mouth opened wider, and for a moment I thought I saw something behind the teeth, thin, black, almost liquid, like shadows shifting under glass. "This is your home." The way it said it made my skin crawl. I turned and bolted across the yard toward my neighbor's house, cutting through the hedges. The cold branches scratched my face, but I didn't care. The moment my foot hit their porch, every motion light on the block flickered. The fake me screamed. Not a normal scream, a low, metallic howl that split through the quiet night and made my whole body seize up. The decorations moved again, jerking violently, their plastic faces twisting as if something inside them was trying to get out. I pounded on my neighbor's door. "Hey, please, open up! Someone's—" The porch light clicked on. The door creaked open just an inch. And inside, I saw her, my neighbor, Mrs. Keene. She was standing completely still in the hallway, eyes wide, her mouth open like she'd been caught mid-word. Except her skin looked like plastic. Her fingers were locked around the doorknob, stiff, unmoving. And behind her, in the dark hallway, dozens of glowing orange eyes blinked, slowly, in unison. For a heartbeat, I thought maybe I'd lost my mind, that my brain had finally cracked under exhaustion. But the longer I stared at her, the clearer it became that what stood inside that doorway wasn't Mrs. Keene anymore. Her skin had the same strange waxy tone as the copy of me. Her eyes didn't blink, they just glowed faintly from within, as though someone had put a candle behind them. And the worst part, she was smiling, that same empty grin I'd seen on all the yard decorations. "Mrs. Keene?" My voice barely came out. The fake me's scream echoed down the street again, closer this time. The other decorations started shifting toward me from every direction. I could hear the faint snap of twigs under their feet, the crinkle of fabric and straw brushing concrete. I turned and sprinted through the next yard, cutting through a row of dying hedges. I didn't look back. Couldn't. My only thought was to get off this street, get to somewhere real, somewhere bright, alive, normal. But when I reached the main road, something was wrong. Every house looked the same plastic gravestones, the same dangling bats, the same Happy Halloween banners. Only there were no cars, no sounds of traffic, no distant hum of life, just the faint rustle of movement that wasn't wind. I ran toward the gas station, the one where I'd worked my shift just hours ago. The fluorescent sign was still glowing pale green against the fog. Relief flooded me when I saw the glass door. Inside, the lights were on. I could see a figure behind the counter, Jimmy, the night cashier. "Jimmy!" I slammed against the door. "Open up, man, please!" He turned slowly, and when he looked up, my stomach dropped. His face wasn't Jimmy's anymore. It was mine. No, not even mine. It was the same fake wax face, mouth too wide, eyes too hollow. His hands rested perfectly still on the counter, the way mannequins do when they're arranged for display. And behind him, lining the aisles between the shelves, stood every figure from the neighborhood: witches, skeletons, scarecrows, waiting, motionless, facing the front door. I took one step back. Then, from somewhere deep inside the store, my own voice spoke, calm, quiet, but echoing, as if coming from 100 throats at once. "Come inside. It's almost midnight."
My legs didn't want to move anymore. The fluorescent glow of the gas station windows shimmered through the fog like something holy, but my gut screamed to stay away. The fake me behind the counter hadn't blinked once, not once. Still, the silence was unbearable. The streets behind me were full of motion, small, soft sounds like rustling plastic and dry leaves dragging across pavement. I couldn't tell if they were closer or if the fog was just carrying the sound toward me. I did the stupid thing anyway. I reached for the gas station door handle. It was unlocked. The bell above the door gave its cheerful little ding when I pushed it open, the kind of sound that usually means safety, warmth, maybe bad coffee and stale donuts. But here, it felt wrong, too normal in a place that wasn't. The air inside smelled of sugar, bleach, and something burnt. I could hear the hum of the refrigerators in the back, but it was slower than usual, like the sound itself had been stretched thin. The fake Jimmy, or fake me, whatever it was, stood completely still behind the counter. Its head turned toward me, the motion mechanical, like a camera swivel. "Welcome back," it said, in that almost human voice. My mouth went dry. "Where is everyone?" It tilted its head, and I swear the corners of its mouth moved just slightly wider. "They're here." Then it raised one pale hand and pointed toward the security mirror in the corner. I looked. The convex glass reflected the aisles of the store, rows of snacks, soda bottles, Halloween candy, and at the very end of one aisle, I saw movement. A shape stepped into view, then another, then another. Every decoration I'd seen that night was walking between the shelves now. The witch dragging her broom, the clown with the cracked mask, the scarecrow in my hoodie. Their reflections moved, but the aisles themselves were empty when I turned to look. I spun back to the mirror, still there, marching slowly toward the counter. And in the reflection, I saw something worse. Behind me, by the entrance, the glass door was closing, on its own. I ran for it, but it slammed shut before I got there. I yanked the handle, but it didn't budge. It was like the metal had fused. In the reflection, the figures were closer now. The clown's arm reached out toward my shoulder. The witch's mouth moved as if whispering something. The scarecrow just stood there, head tilting left and right like it was testing how human motion worked. "Stop!" I gasped, voice cracking. The copy behind the counter didn't move. "We've waited all year. You always walk home. You always pass us by. You never look long enough to see." The lights in the store flickered, once, twice, then went out. And in the dark, I heard dozens of feet moving closer, the dry rattle of plastic bones brushing against shelves. Then, just above my head, a whisper. "Now, you're part of it."
For a few seconds after the lights died, I couldn't tell if I was still breathing. Everything smelled like dust and metal, the air thick, unmoving. Somewhere close, something small rolled off a shelf and hit the floor with a hollow clink. I lifted my phone, thumb shaking as I hit the flashlight. The weak cone of light cut through the dark just enough to show the candy aisle. Bags ripped open, candy spilling like entrails across the tile. I swung the light toward the counter. The fake me was gone. The space behind the counter was empty, except for my hoodie, my real one, the one I'd worn all week. It lay folded neatly where Jimmy used to keep the lottery tickets. That was when I noticed something wrong with my arm. The light trembled over my sleeve, and I saw that the fabric wasn't right. It looked thicker, rougher, like burlap. My skin underneath itched so bad I almost screamed. I pulled at the sleeve and a few threads came loose, scratching my wrist like straw. I dropped the phone. Its light spun across the floor, landing face up, throwing warped shadows on the walls. Figures were moving in the mirror again, closer this time, so close I could see their heads tilt in perfect unison. The clown's hand brushed the glass, and when it did, I swear I felt a faint pressure on my shoulder, cold and dry. No, I'm not. My reflection shifted. I wasn't holding the flashlight anymore. My reflection was, and it was smiling. The decorations had stopped moving. Everything was perfectly still again, like they'd frozen mid-step. I started backing toward the door, but when my hand touched the glass, it felt warm, almost soft. The reflection of me in the mirror lifted its other hand and waved. Then I heard it, muffled laughter from outside the store. Kids, trick-or-treaters. For the first time all night, I felt real hope. I pounded on the door. Hey, somebody, help me, please! Footsteps crunched on the gravel outside. A kid's voice, light, curious. Cool decorations, dude! I froze. Through the glass, I saw them, a group of kids standing in front of the gas station, looking straight at me, but smiling like it was a display window. And then I realized what they were seeing. My reflection in the glass wasn't me anymore. It was standing perfectly still behind the counter, grinning. Its head jerked slightly, just like the other decorations. My skin, my real skin, had gone stiff, dry, hollow. One of the kids pointed. That one looks real! Their laughter faded as they walked away, leaving the street quiet again. Inside the gas station, my phone buzzed once more on the floor. The cracked screen lit up, showing a single message. Happy Halloween. And the flashlight went out. I don't know how long I stayed in the dark. Maybe an hour. Maybe the whole night. Time didn't move right in there. The air had that stillness that comes after something terrible, when the world is deciding whether to start again. At some point, I must have blacked out. Because when I opened my eyes, sunlight was leaking through the gas station windows. The neon sign buzzed faintly again, and outside, birds were chirping like nothing had happened. Like the world had quietly rebooted. Everything inside looked normal, too normal. Shelves full, lights on, the same hum of freezers. Except the air still smelled faintly of burnt plastic and sweet rot. I stood behind the counter. My body felt heavy, stiff. My hoodie was back on me somehow. I tried to stretch, but my arms barely responded. Then I looked at my hands. They weren't mine. The skin was pale and dry, textured, like old wax that had started to crack around the knuckles. When I bent my fingers, I could hear the faint creak of something stiff underneath. Panic clawed up my throat, but no sound came out. My voice didn't work. Outside, a car pulled into the lot. A woman got out, phone in hand, chatting with someone. She smiled, waved absently toward the window, toward me, before heading for the door. She didn't see the way my face pressed stiffly against the glass, didn't see the way my eyes couldn't move to follow her. She just smiled like she always did, as if she'd passed by a familiar sight. And when she opened the door, the little bell above it rang its cheerful ding. "Good morning," she called out. Her voice echoed through the empty store. Then she frowned. "Huh, no one here." I tried to scream, to move, to do anything, but my body wouldn't respond. My hands stayed planted on the counter, my head tilted just so. She sighed, dropped a few bills on the counter, and left. The door closed, and I saw my reflection in the glass again. I looked exactly like I always had at work, tired, distant, just another night cashier waiting for his shift to end. Only now, my smile didn't fade. And outside, I saw new decorations going up. Pumpkins, skeletons, cobwebs. Life, moving on, like it always does.
A year passed. At least that's what I think. Days don't mean much anymore. I can't sleep, and I can't move. I only see what's in front of me. The same stretch of parking lot, the same flickering neon sign, the same patch of sky that turns from gray to black to gray again. People come and go. They buy gas, snacks, coffee. No one ever looks at me for long. Just a quick glance toward the counter, maybe a polite nod, and then they're gone. I don't even know if I look alive anymore, or if I've just blended into the rest of the background, a permanent part of the place, another thing you pass without thinking about. Sometimes I can hear the laughter of kids outside, the faint crunch of leaves under their shoes. I can't see them well, just shapes in the reflection. They run across the parking lot, chasing each other, plastic pumpkins swinging from their hands. And then, every once in a while, one of them stops. They press their face against the glass. They stare at me for a long time, squinting. "Cool prop," one of them said last week. "Looks so real." I wanted to tell him I am real, that I'm still in here somewhere, but my mouth doesn't open anymore. The lights in the store flicker every night around midnight. When they do, I can see them in the reflection, again, the decorations, not outside, inside, lined up perfectly between the aisles, waiting. They don't move until the lights go out completely. Then I can hear them, faint dragging sounds, soft laughter, the hiss of something brushing the shelves. They whisper sometimes, quiet things, things that sound like me. And when the sun rises, everything resets. The store looks normal again. Customers walk in. Life keeps going. But tonight is Halloween again. The decorations are already outside. I can see the orange lights strung across the street, the scarecrows standing in the yards, faces turned toward the gas station. And in the reflection of the glass, right behind my shoulder, there's another shape now. Taller, new, still learning how to stand. It's wearing a blue hoodie, and it's smiling at me.